as a mom of a new girl and a little boy on the way, I am excited to tell them that I had the chance to do the first interview with the first Latina CEO of a Fortune 500, Fortune 200 company at the Fortune Women's Summit. And hopefully by the time they're old enough to have that conversation, there will be many more like you.
It'll be old news by then. But thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You have said, though, Geisha, that you still sometimes think, like the 5-year-old immigrant girl you were coming from Cuba, this must be a dream.
Well, how can I not believe that? I mean, think about it. I come to this country at 5 years old with my parents, clothes on our back, don't speak English. My father works 2-3 jobs at a time. My mom does piecework at home. You know, we just worked so hard day in and day out. We're talking lower middle income, blue collar, difficult, struggling sort of family life. How could I possibly have imagined that I could be CEO of a Fortune 200 company? And I pinch myself. Like, really? Is this me? Is this my life? So yeah, it's more than a dream come true.
It is your life. Your father was in prison with no explanation in Cuba for 3 years. They come in the middle of the night and say, you're going to the United States.
Right.
Here you are crying in your grandmother's arms. And your mother says, stop crying. We have to go. And ahead of you was the greatest dream you could imagine.
Absolutely.
But the road when you got here wasn't easy.
Right.
I mean, your parents had nothing. What was the climb up like?
You know, we came to the United States through Miami. We ended up in St. Paul,
The
Minnesota.
best state, Minnesota.
The coldest state in the country. My parents will tell you they had culture shock, but it was really temperature shock. They were, what is going on here? How cold is it here? Our sponsor died within about a month of us arriving, so we ended up in New Jersey, really for the promise of work, factory work as immigrants, in fact. And my dad worked in the factory during the day, washing dishes at night, working to stock shelves at the local grocery store on the weekends. It was tough. And somehow, you know, and I'm so proud of them, they were able to cobble together enough money to buy a little grocery store, which they were very successful in. They flipped it, bought a bigger one, and then a bigger one, and then a bigger one. And by the time we left New Jersey, my father and my mom were part owners of a major supermarket. Wow. They did the same thing in Miami. So they're the American dream. I just happened to come along for the ride.
Well, a little bit more than that. You would sit in the grocery store.
Yeah.
They stacked up rice bags, and you put up sort of plywood over it, a desk. Hurry through your homework so you could switch shifts with your mother.
That's right. So I mean, there was no, I've said this before, there were no brownies for me or ballet after school. I came to the grocery store, did my homework in the stock room under a dingy lamp to just quickly get it done so that I could be the cashier, so my mom could go home, make dinner, and then at some point I'd go home, take care of my brother, and this is what we did every day. And you know, it was hard, but I wouldn't give it up for anything. I was part of the family business. I felt pride in that, and I enjoyed that.
You went on to get your degree in engineering, University of Miami. You sort of fall into this field in energy. And given the headlines lately about some men in power and the way they choose to behave, you had a wonderful experience with a man in power who became your mentor, who asked you a pivotal question that changed your life.
So this is a mentor of mine early in my career. His name was Clark Cook from Georgia. So you should never judge, right? You never know. Mentors come from all different walks of life. He was awesome. A role model for diversity and inclusion, by the way. And he asked me one day, he said, Geisha, what do you want to do? What are your long-term career aspirations? And I thought, oh, maybe I'll be a manager, supervisor. And he goes, no, long-term. And I was like, well, I was talking long-term. He goes, Geisha, somebody has to run this company someday. Why not you?
That was the question. Why not you?
And I was floored by that. I mean, why not me? Women weren't running companies. None. Immigrants, please. Latinas, no way. But somehow he inspired me. He gave me that sort of permission to go for it. He lit a spark. And he was the first person after my parents that I called to let know that, in fact, I had become CEO of PG&E Corporation.
Her parents are still alive today.
Yes, they are. Very lucky.
Seeing this. Permission to go for it.
Permission to go for it.
Fortune put out a really interesting new study by Korn Ferry and Rockefeller Foundation of 57 former and current CEOs, female CEOs. 65% did not think they would ever could be CEO until someone else said they could.
That's right. And me, you know, even after Clark told me that somebody had to run the company, I still didn't believe him. I thought, okay, maybe I could do better than manager.
Do you believe him today, guys?
I think so. I think I did okay.
We're glad.
Yep.
Before we talk about immigration, I want to get into that, given your story especially. Let's talk about the energy picture. You're in California. You have the highest mandate to meet 50% utility power mandated to be generated by renewables in your state by 2030. Yep. Fortune reports you're a bit ahead of schedule on that one. You're also facing some new competitors, although you don't label them competitors, Google, Amazon, Apple in this space. What will my daughter think energy means when she's 18?
She will think that it's clean, that it's convenient, and that she will have choices about who provides her energy. It will be more distributed than it is today. She will drive an autonomous electric vehicle powered by the local utility. It is
just probably safer than her driving at 16.
Well, I'm just saying. But it's an exciting time. We're at an energy crossroads where technology and innovation, customer choice are all converging. And utilities, like mine, have to transform themselves. They have to think about themselves not just as delivering electrons or gas molecules, but being that platform, that system integrator that makes it all happen.
And to you, the future is not nuclear power. You are leading a group. This was controversial, the decision under your watch to shut down Diablo Canyon, the last nuclear plant in California. The goal is to do so, start doing so 2024. You're not totally there yet.
Right.
You had to get a lot of folks with a lot of different opinions on the same page to agree to this.
Yes, we did.
How'd you do it?
But you know what, Poppy? I believe that complex decisions like that require more than just one way of thinking. So we built this broad coalition of very diverse thinking. So we had labor, we had environmental groups, we had anti-nuclear groups like Friends of the Earth, the Alliance for Nuclear Responsibility. We brought this coalition together and we mapped out common ground. What would it take? What was the right path forward for California? And we were able to put together a historic joint proposal that I'm very proud of, taking that and then to our Public Utility Commission, which we're hoping will get approved later this year. So it was a great piece of work.
And you had to convince the naysayers and those against it, environmentalists, some who were against it, who thought, no, they're just going to replace it with a fossil fuel plant.
But we made a commitment that any necessary output as a result of shutting down Diablo would be done with greenhouse gas-free power, and we're on the way to doing that.
But the president says and talks a lot about the future of energy in this country and jobs is coal.
Yep, he does say that. In California, we beg to differ. We are all in on clean energy. The state has doubled down on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and utilities like mine are all in with California to make that happen. We are going to be a demonstration project for how to do this properly in the United States and hopefully the world. It's about safe, reliable, clean, and affordable power to all.
Can it be done? I've spent a good amount of time specifically along the Rust Belt reporting, specifically in Kentucky, with these families who had these incredible jobs where one of them could work and support their family, and they have put all of their hope in the president that these jobs are coming back. Is there renewable energy hope for some of those folks that aren't in the environment of California where you have such diversity of option in terms of energy?
Well, I think you're right. In California, we have so many different options, whether it's solar or wind or hydro or geothermal or biomass. But I think what California has done is made a market. And what we've done working with policymakers is demonstrate how to do it. So on a state-by-state level, where it makes sense, should they choose to go down that path, the cost of renewables have really greatly been reduced because of our work there. So I'm optimistic that more and more renewables will come across the country, maybe at different time frames, but I'm optimistic that it will happen, that in fact the energy that your daughter's future and your son's future is going to be all about is going to be cleaner than it is today.
Let's talk about immigration. As an immigrant to this country, as a 5-year-old girl from Cuba, you now witness from the seat of a CEO the immigration debate that is raging in this country. The president has decided to end the DACA program through executive order, and he said Congress needs to figure out a long-term fix. His daughter, Ivanka Trump, a senior advisor, was on this stage last night talking about that. What needs to happen? Because some of these kids the average age was 6.5 when these dreamers came to this country. So what should happen?
We have to find a path forward. I really believe that just like you build a coalition to shut down a nuclear power plant, we can figure out the immigration issue. There is a path forward that does two things. Number one, I get it. We've got to protect our borders. I understand that there's national security concerns. But we also must find a way of continuing to have immigration be the lifeblood of this country. Immigrants bring creativity, innovation, hard work, perseverance. Why in the world wouldn't you want to continue to have that? So I believe firmly, there's a way, and I think we've got to have that mindset of figuring it out. There has to be a way to make it happen. I know there is.
You call them the secret weapon.
The secret weapon. I think immigrants, people who come to this country with their hard work, their sweat, their desire for a better life. Think about who these people are. They're bold, they're courageous, they give it up. They give everything up for a better life, for their children and their children's children. That's what's in the DNA of our American soul. And so I believe firmly that, yeah, it's a secret weapon. It's what's driven, I think, America to the heights that it's at, and it's what's going to continue to drive us forward. So we better find a way forward. I really believe that.
Do you know what the hardest question is for me to get a straight answer to on my show every morning when I have lawmakers on?
Uh-oh.
Of all parties.
Yes.
Okay, what are you willing to give? What should your party give? Why is that such a hard answer? You built a coalition around a nuclear power plant. That is a controversial issue. Are you hopeful that Washington will do more coalition building?
Of course I'm hopeful, and there are signs of it. I mean, there are Main Street Republicans, there are sort of moderate Democrats. There's a lot of, I believe, common ground there. It's about removing the rhetoric and letting lawmakers really get into the business of running the country again, and not just constantly be figuring out how to shoot themselves down, but just like we were able to find common ground with Friends of the Earth who wanted to shut us down and now support us continuing to run this power plant through the end of life, there's got to be a way of finding that common ground in everything we do. Our country deserves it. Our country requires it, and we should expect that.
So as you've just started this long-term project, shall I say, for you as being CEO and leading us into the energy future, help me finish this sentence. I will have succeeded as CEO if.
I will have succeeded as CEO when.
Love that.
When.
How dare I say if?
When I can transform our company from simply delivering electrons and gas molecules to really truly being an energy solutions, climate change solutions company.
We have 1 minute left. We have 1 minute left, and I asked her parenting advice on our way in here, because that's what I ask these days. And I said, how you came with so little. So you weren't spoiled, you couldn't be spoiled. Now you have so much, and you have 2 kids. And I said, how do you not spoil them? What's the lesson for all of these successful leaders who could probably give their kids anything?
Well, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And my husband and I, my husband's from the Midwest, also from pretty humble beginnings.
Good blood.
And our approach was you give them all the love in the world, but material things, not so much. And for Christmas, they got 3 gifts from Santa. That's it. My daughter, who just graduated from high school, worked all through high school. My daughter, who just graduated from college, worked all through college. And
she won't let you buy her a kitchen table.
So my oldest daughter, Annie, who has a little apartment in Brighton outside of Boston, lives in this tiny little apartment. She doesn't have a kitchen table and chairs, and she won't let me buy it for her because she says, Mom, I've got to make my own way. I got to make my own way. I want to buy her that table so bad.
Don't do it.
But you know what? A part of me is just so incredibly proud of her for that independent spirit and that sort of, I can do it on my own.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm excited to watch your journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.